I was literally depressed and put on antidepressants in June, and I bounced back like this. I shared that it only went live on Monday this week, but so many people have reached out saying, I too have been there. I've been depressed. I was put on antidepressants. I've hit rock bottom. And all I wanted to do was like give a bit of context. And I thought if it helps one person who's going through fucking hell, like I want them to know it gets to be good again.
This is the Born to be Brilliant podcast, helping you harness the habits and unlock the tools to bring you more meaning, vibrance, and the personal power to help you shine like the diamond you are. Tara Punter is on the podcast with me today. She is a business mindset coach and she's the founder of Thriving Business Women. Tara, a massive welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation. It's going to be amazing.
It really is. Starting off, let's get straight to it. Tara, tell us, when do people come to you?
When they have this inner knowing that they are made for more. I think my clients come to me when they just wake up, they have this feeling inside of them. They're like, I just want to create something. They want to build an incredible life and business. They want to be known for something. They want to be the go-to in their industry. They want to be, known. They want to have their name mentioned in rooms that they're not even in. And they have this drive and this desire. And generally that's the point that they come to me because they're like, okay, well, how do I get there? What do I need to do? What do I need to create? And then that's when we start the whole mindset plus strategy conversation.
Amazing. And do you see any common traits in those people? They're driven, they're ambitious, they know they're made for more. They've got something inside them that says, they've probably got a burning message that they want to share with the world. There's a purpose behind them. It's not just being known for being known's sake. But are there any personality traits that you see as a commonality between these people?
Absolutely. And I actually shifted my whole messaging towards this a couple of years ago because I realized that I love to work with people that really want to create results. I don't just want somebody who's just going to show up and not really do the work and not get any results. I want people that really want to get results. And to me, that personality type is that they're driven, they're determined, they're committed, they're bold, and often they're courageous. They're willing to try new things. They're willing to, put themselves out there. They're willing to step outside of their comfort zone. And I really relate to that as well. I'd say I'm definitely one of those sort of personality types. And I love working with those people because they are willing to go all in. They are willing to put themselves out there. They are willing to try the things, to keep picking themselves up when something doesn't quite go to plan. So I love working with that sort of personality type.
And what about people like that causes a stuckness that you help them get unstuck with? Where do you think... And it could be, I'm sure there are different, not everyone's the same, but what are common things that you see where you're like, these people are renowned for getting stuck because, is there an answer to that
I think
question?
so often they have so many ideas, they don't know where to start. I work with so many people that they want to have the one-to-one coaching, the group coaching. They want to have a book. They want to have a podcast. They want to speak on stages. They want to go networking. They want to do so many things. And they're like, how do I start? I don't know where is best to start. So when people come to me, because they're brand new in business and they're like, I've got all these ideas. Tell me what's best to start with. Sometimes they've been in business a while and maybe they've realized that actually they're just in survival mode and they're not actually thriving. And then it's like, they've still got all of these ideas, but again, it's like piecing it all together based on the level of where their brand is at. I definitely realize that I work with busy people that have got multiple careers, people that have got busy lives. And I think, I've always been that person myself. I thrive being busy. I thrive having a busy calendar. That's when I feel that I'm really aligning to my purpose. That's when I feel I'm achieving things. And I think I work with a lot of people that are like that as well.
I think we do attract like for like, don't we? We often do. We attract who we are. And I see that at all levels. Anyone I've ever worked with or groups I've been in, and any group leader tends to attract people that are like them. I think that's normal, that naturally you gravitate towards that. But do you think that, and I can relate to that massively, I can relate to that as a woman who's ADHD diagnosed and entrepreneurial, all of these traits. And we can be scattered. We can have be trying to keep too many balls in the air sometimes. Is that one of the things that typically will set somebody back, is they're spreading themselves too thinly, or almost trying to, or busy, the saying about being a busy fool, like, so busy, but they're not actually moving the needle on any significant thing, and sometimes you need to slow down to speed up. Like, is that something that comes through a lot?
Yeah, definitely. And I think actually there's a lot to be said for doing the right things. One of the things when I rebranded my business to be the thriving businesswoman, this was very much about stepping into the identity of doing it our way. How I launch and how I build my business, and how
Yeah.
I use Instagram to build my business, and how I sell and the offers I create and how I deliver my offers works really well for me, my personality type. That's not to say it's going to work well for everybody.
Yeah.
So I think it's really about finding your way, not, following the coach that you follow on the internet and how she does it and thinking, well, I need to do it that way. I hosted a retreat a couple of weeks ago,
I
and I had a
absolutely
real
love
good
that.
conversation with one of my clients who is an accountant and a tax advisor. And she's only 1 year into business, but already absolutely smashing it. And she came to me and we had a conversation. She was like, I just hate social media. Like, it's not my zone of genius. I'm already like fully booked. I don't really need it, but I feel like I should do it. And I'm doing like the should in the air quotes. And I just said to her, no, you don't. Like, if you're getting
Yeah.
all of these clients and inquiries through word of mouth, through recommendations, that's incredible. Just because I've built my entire business on Instagram
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to. And I think that was almost like such a
Yeah.
permission slip and a light bulb moment for her to be like, oh, I can do it my way. That's what I really love, is helping people find their
Yeah.
way, whether they've got an ADHD brain or
Yeah.
there's somebody that is, very detail specific. I'm like, right, let's find your way. If there's somebody that loves to do video, or if there's somebody that hates video but loves writing captions and creating stories and storytelling, again, it's like, let's find your way, and then you really thrive.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And because then it comes from within rather than feeling forced and feeling like you're trying to conform. And I love the social media analogy, actually, because I have a love-hate relationship with it myself. And I think that there are people, no doubt, that absolutely blow up and create great businesses. And there's no denying that to have a business, you need an audience. But I think that there's the thing of, but who says that's where the audience has to be? Like, nobody says that, but it's what we see and consume because it's in our faces. So it's the only way you really see it. But what you don't necessarily see are the people who have created that audience in other ways. And I think, if you're going to sell, for instance, if you're going to author a book and you're going to promote a book, or you do need, you need an audience. But if it's forced, it's not going to work. What, like, genuinely, I'm curious about this, is because social media gives us so much opportunity to get seen in a big way, and that's important for an entrepreneur that does want to write books, speak on stages, all the things that you were describing. Can somebody do it without that? Or is it a case of finding a way of doing it that isn't necessarily face on camera, or like, do you need to get creative in a different way? Or do you believe, not get involved with social media at all, but still be visible enough to have a thriving business? If that, well, I
Yeah.
suppose it depends what your goal is, right? If your goal is something that's really, really highly visible, you've got to get visible. But if it actually is a behind the scenes business, you
Yeah.
don't necessarily
No,
need
I,
it.
I agree completely. And I
I don't
think
know.
there's a number of examples that
What are
I'd
your
love to
thoughts?
share. So I know of an incredible lady called Maggie Collette,
Mm.
who is the founder of Think Like a Boss. So she
Oh,
is
yeah.
an incredible
Yeah.
woman. She was my coach in 2020, back in COVID. She actually came and spoke at my retreat a couple of weeks ago. And she built a movement. She built a community. So she built Think Like a Boss to 2.3 million followers without putting her face on it. But she knew that she wanted to build an audience in order to get a book deal. So that felt really good for her. She didn't want to build a personal brand. She didn't want to
Yeah.
build a brand whereby her face was the face of the brand. And then she secured that book deal. But I also know of
Mm.
coaches. I know of one coach that charges
Mm.
$500,000 for 9 months of coaching, and she's got, I think, like 1,200 followers on Instagram. Like, she doesn't get clients through Instagram. She literally has built her whole business and charges that
Yeah.
through referrals. So yes, I think it's possible to kind of do it in a number of different
Yeah.
ways. But again, it's about finding the way for you. I've always loved building my business to this
Yeah.
point over the past 10 years as it being a personal brand. My face is the face of the website, of the social
Yeah.
media. I do video. I love showcasing that I am the person behind the brand. And now I'm stepping into a new era with the business where I'm like, right, I want to build a movement that people want to be a part of, but I am still the brand and I'm still the leader of the brand, if that makes sense. So again, it's so important that you find your
Yeah.
way and actually where you build your community. I've built my
Yeah.
community on Instagram, but I know people that have built a community on an email list and they're not on social media. And I think you've just work out where that community is that you build it, whether it's in person, whether it's going networking, whether it's, using an email list or a Facebook group or Instagram, whatever it is. But it's like, where are you building your community of your people?
Yeah. And I guess you can grow that email list through potentially a few powerful ads or campaigns or even in-person things and word of mouth, and it's just grows and grows. And if you're really good at writing, that can be a lovely, lovely way. I think there are some people who have great email content that you just want to open and read and consume. And again, that's going to attract your audience. And I guess it also needs to align with where you want to go. Like we were just saying, if you want to secure a book deal, you're going to have to grow that visible audience in a different way to somebody who perhaps is, thriving, fully booked. Like you mentioned, your person in finance. It's like, I'm fully booked. I've got plenty of business. There's no sign of this slowing down, and people just keep referring me. And it's like, well, then great. You don't need that, front-facing form of visibility. And I think it can get mismatched, can't it? So if if they're shooting for one thing but behaving a different way, that it's not going to work. So it's knowing why, and what do I actually want to achieve, to then give yourself permission to go, well, yeah, I don't need that, or right, I need to look into this.
Yes,
this is my thing.
massively.
And it can be messy when you're in it
I
and you
think
can't
people
see
need
it.
to have real discernment around what advice they take and what they want to achieve. The coaching space, the online space is amazing. Like, I love it. There's so many incredible people that are sharing their way. And I always think, we can almost be inundated with information. I remember a couple of years ago, I'd been through like a little period of grief.
Yeah.
And my mindset just wasn't in a very strong place. And I felt like literally paralyzed with information. I've worked with so many coaches. I've been working with coaches since 2017. I've done so many programs. I know all the strategy things. I've learned so much that I almost got to this point that I just was like paralyzed with knowing what to do. I was like, do I do ads? Do I create content this way? Do I do it this way? And I was like, and I'm a coach that helps people like do this and make money. But I had just taken in so much of so many different people's ways that it literally held me back. So I think, people want to connect with so many incredible coaches and leaders and entrepreneurs in the online space. That's amazing. But also take everything with a pinch of salt. That's not the only way. I could create a podcast episode or a piece of content about
there's so
how
many
I
ways.
sold out a mastermind on Instagram stories without even having the page on my website, which I did in August. But like, that's not the only way to do it. And it's like taking what you need from each piece of content or each podcast or each coach that you follow, and then really thinking about, well, how do I want to do it? And I think that is one of the most empowering conversations that any business owner can ask themselves.
And a great coach will help you to unlock that for you rather than serve up their formula. I completely agree with you. And I think also, if we are lost or feeling stuck or confused, we're so vulnerable to that being paralyzed, because let's face it, when you've got real clarity and you know where you're going, you just get your head down and do it. When you're lost, you web wander, you scroll, you consume, because you're looking for that inspiration. And then you see, sold out my thing on stories. Then you see, did this event and and you see all these things and go, oh my God, maybe I should do that then. Or maybe I should do that then. And of course, marketing is designed to let you think, there's so much content out there that says, this style is dead. This way is over. This is the way now. And of course, they're saying that because that's their thing that they sell. But it can leave you, if you are feeling lost, really susceptible to that. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do it. What do I do? Ah. Whereas when you work with somebody like yourself, like when you find a coach that's aligned to your values and can see what you're trying to strategize and uncover, then you'll ask the right questions that will determine the right way for that person. And I think that's the thing that people miss. You don't need the coach that's going to serve up their method. You need the coach that's going to help you define your method.
That I even bring this into my sort of low ticket membership. I'll host a coaching call based on, what I'm seeing in the industry at the moment and some things that have worked well for me. And then I'm like, right, now let's go around the room, share in the chat, unmute yourself. How can you then take what you need from this and move forwards?
Yeah.
Like I hosted a membership call yesterday. And I said at the end of
Yeah.
it, okay, well, just because I've done this way and this is how I'm creating content at the moment doesn't mean you need to. Let's now each work out what we're going to commit to for this month and
Yeah.
what your main focus is. My main focus for this month is
Mm.
sales and content. Well, that
Mm.
doesn't mean that that's going to be somebody else's if they're already completely fully
Mhm.
booked and overwhelmed. So again, I think there's got to be so much discernment around it. And I just want
Mm.
to help people find their way. That's, I think, one of the greatest things that I always think about.
I love that. Do you think that obviously, I'm sure you, like me, work with a range of different people that do have different ways and different styles. And I talk about that the same, thing with you should do it this way. You shouldn't. You should do it this way because they're just completely different people. But do you think that anyone can, for example, if somebody said, I want to, let's use speaking on stage as an example, do you think anyone can, or do you think that it's perfect for some people and for other people they're better off behind the scenes or in the written world? Or do you think they know that already? Or even in business, do you think there are some people who are not cut out to be in business, or do you think
I
anyone
don't think
can be?
anyone can be, no. I think it takes such a level of grit and resilience that it isn't for everybody. If it was, everybody would do it because you can choose your own hours and you can make great money. But honestly, so
Exactly.
I've been in business since June 2015
Hmm.
under various different guises. Went from like a journalist to social media manager into PR and then into coaching. And it has honestly been the most incredible thing
Mm.
I've ever done and that I probably ever will do. And I'm more obsessed with it now than ever. But it's also the thing that has tested me the most at
Hmm.
times. When you get an out of integrity client
Mm.
or you get treated
Hmm.
really badly or you get bullied. I was bullied in my second year of business by an industry expert. You get somebody copy you get legal issues.
Hmm.
Like you have to deal with all of these things. It's not just, sign clients and make a bit of money.
Hmm.
It's everything that it requires of you. And I think it can really make you be an incredible person as well. It can
Hmm.
really help you step up. It can help you lead people,
Hmm.
inspire people. It really can make you want to do these things. But truthfully, I don't think it is for everybody. And that's a real
Yeah.
heartbreaking, honest conversation to have.
No, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I think in same with businesses in different guises and also running a franchise network and seeing that, some people, no matter how much you want it for them and try to help them, if they have fundamentally not got certain traits or just aren't able to crack through certain blockers, you can't make them a business person. And it's frustrating because I would definitely say, reflecting on the hundreds of people that I've helped, I think you can see the ones where you go, oh my God, you're just a mindset shift away from really transforming. And then others that you just go, I'm all out. I don't know if this person is cut out for this, or that
Yeah.
perhaps they thought it would be easier. And and I think that's a shame. And I think you often see that with passion-led business people, because they have so much passion to give and they really want to do the delivery of the thing, but they'd be better off being employed by somebody who can hire them to do that thing rather than run a business. And they are such different things. So I think there can be a little bit too much of a glamorous picture of entrepreneurship and having your own business and, well, we should all just do it for ourselves rather than working for somebody else. I'm like, no, not everyone. It's like you just said, there's so much more to it. You might be amazing at making cakes, but it doesn't mean you should open a cake shop. You should possibly go and be
Yeah.
amazing at making cakes for somebody else who's opened a cake shop, because you don't want to deal with, like you said, all the
Yeah.
other pieces that come with that. Do you have you ever had to tell somebody that? Have you ever had to kind of question whether someone should be in business or not? Or are you usually finding the people you work with, they're like, no, they're good.
I
They
think
just
over the
maybe
past few
need some
years, I've
mindset
really shifted
shifts.
my messaging to that personality piece we started with, and that's helped massively. Because in COVID, I just said yes to anyone,
Yeah.
and I would I had a
Hmm.
six-figure month in COVID from a massive launch, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is amazing. But then off the back of that, I was suddenly coaching a whole bunch of people that had no work
Yeah.
ethic. They weren't driven and they weren't committed, and I'm like, okay. So I'm coaching people who are blaming me
Yeah.
for a lack of results, who aren't actually doing the work. I'm literally telling them what to do based on their personality, their brain function, their business, their brand awareness, and they're not doing it. I'm like, why the fuck are you not doing the
Yeah.
work? Like, I can't come to your house and tell you not to nap. And I'm all
Mm.
for, I'm not really a nappy person, but, if you want to have a nap, fine. But I'm like, I can't come to your house and make sure you do the work. You have to have some accountability. And I just find myself getting quite frustrated by it because I am such a results driven
Yeah.
person. Like, for myself and for my clients, I'm like, I just want to help you get results.
Yeah.
I want you to blow your own mind. And if you're not going to do it, then
Yeah.
I can't help you. So
Yeah.
I did have to have a couple of conversations with people. And that was when I really shifted my message and I got so clear on who I work with. And now I have the most incredible group of clients at all levels, in memberships, in one-to-one, long-term clients, clients that are new to my world, but all of them do the fucking work. And that's what I'm so passionate about. It's like, I will help you. I will give you everything you need to be successful, to thrive, to help you find your way. You've got to do
Mm.
the fucking work. I can't do that for you. And I think that shift has been huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, work ethic is something that I think is so underrated.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I don't think that's any easy feat. So well done to you for like getting that messaging shift, because I think sometimes with the best will in the world, you can say that till you're blue in the face on the way in, and it's yeah, I will, and then you're like, no, but you're still not. And I understand how frustrating it is when you do pour your heart and soul into that, because ultimately you want them to get results. Like, we don't do the kind of work we do just for the fun of it, or just for a quick buck. Like, you don't do this kind of work just for money. You do it because you are passionate about their outcomes, either for them or even for their clients. Like, one of my businesses is like that, where I'm like, I don't just want you to be successful. I want you to make the impact that you're going to make on the
Yeah.
people that you're going to actually help. It's layered. And if people really understood, which they don't all at all levels, but understood what you actually put yourself through as a business owner and have to deal with, like you said, legal issues and being blamed for stuff and all the grief, like, oh my God, why would you put yourself through that if you weren't that passionate about those outcomes for other people? And so it is absolutely soul destroying when, like you said, somebody will then go, oh, I haven't got results, it's your fault. Like, how on earth can it possibly be your fault if you've delivered? But I do think there has been a post-pandemic effect like that. I think across all kinds of businesses, where people did go, oh, well, I'm at home and I'll start this thing or start that thing. Or I think there was definitely an influx. And then out of the back of that have been probably a drop off of the, oh yeah, maybe my job was actually better for me than this entrepreneurial world. But I think it has left a lot of coaches and mentors
It
being
is.
hit with that
Yeah,
blame
I think one of the
game,
things that I sort of came
which
to
is really
realize as
sad.
well is that I've had
Really
the
sad.
most highest of highs and lowest of lows on my journey of the past 10 years. And things for me that I think has helped massively is actually talking about it and actually
Mm,
sharing those lows. I hit my first rock bottom in business in 2017.
yes.
I lost 2 clients on one
Yeah.
day. I was owed thousands of pounds and I was left with a couple of clients that were paying me £50 per week for social media management. And I was like, shit, how am I going to pay my council tax and my rent and my car finance and my Vodafone bill? And that was the first rock bottom I ever had.
Mm,
And actually, it led me to
mm,
investing £97 in a coach. That was the first coach I ever hired.
mhm.
I didn't have £97, but I was like, right, what can I sell to make that money? So I sold one
No.
offer. I sold 2 of them at £50.
Mhm.
I was like, right, there's my
Yes.
£97 and I got £3 change. And I talk about that
Yep.
story because I was like, at the time, I didn't see a way through. I
Yep.
was so in my head. I had lost these clients, it really personally. I knew nothing about mindset at the time.
Mm,
So I didn't know not to take it personally, but literally it crushed me for a month. I talk about that because I know other people are going to have times that
mm,
they lose clients, they take things
yeah.
personally, they question themselves, they don't see a way through. So I want to talk about that, be like, I was there and I get it, and now I'm here. And I did this with the first 6 months of this year as well, when I
Mm,
hit the lowest rock bottom of my
mhm.
entire life. And again, I've now told that story. Now I'm out the other side. Because if it gives somebody hope to
Yeah.
make them realize that just because they're going through a dip in their business, just because something shit happens to them, just because they want to give up, doesn't mean they have to. If they've got that work ethic, if they've got that desire in their belly, if they're like, I really, really, really want this, they can borrow a tiny bit of hope from sharing that story. So I really love actually sharing all of the stories in business, like the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the legal issues, the like massive wins, because I want to normalize the realness of like the monumental highs and lows that you get in business.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I think it's also, I think it's important too, because otherwise you paint this glossy picture that then inadvertently does attract people into this world that perhaps shouldn't be. You need to see all of it and know what it's like. And I don't think you'll find one successful business owner that hasn't got stories of, like you said, monumental highs and lows. But that's also what keeps you climbing up that spiral. Like, I think that, inevitably every big high has had another form of low because of that. And then you overcome that and then you go up. It's cyclical, isn't it? But as long as the trajectory overall does climb, but it isn't like a straight line up. It's up and down constantly. You just want it to be typically going overall up, a bit like investing. But it's inevitable that you're going to hit some of those lows, but they're essential for learning and they're essential for growth. And when you know you're not the only one, it's so much better. And I actually asked a fellow female leader recently, like, I literally was just like, can you just tell me something about this that makes me feel like this isn't, that this is normal? And what she sent back, I was just like, there we go, thanks, I feel better now. Because I just needed it normalizing, because sometimes you'll be like, what have I done like wrong, or where have I messed up, or how, or you just feel really
Yeah.
rubbish. But to have somebody else go,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
And it just,
all the time.
there's a lot to be
I'm like,
said for
oh,
feeling
okay,
like you're not
cool.
the only
Yep,
one it's
good.
happening
I'm
to.
back.
And I always think that I want my clients to see that if I can bounce back from rock bottom, if I can bounce back from depression, if I can bounce back from literally wanting to burn it all to the ground and get a job, and now I can feel better with an epic mindset, with epic sales, I'm like, you can do it too.
Yeah.
That's what I want people to feel when they hear that story or they hear any of the stories that I tell.
Yeah. And you show me one person hasn't gone, I want to burn it all down to the ground and get a job at some point. If you haven't been there, you aren't shooting high enough, because you will feel like that at some point if you are pushing like the boundaries and pushing the bar rather. You will feel like that at some point. But it's those that hang on in those tough times. It's those that use that resilience to overcome whatever that is, to take the lessons from whatever that is, to use that to fuel them to go to that next level. That's where success lies. And let's face it, if it wasn't over those hurdles, we'd all be swimming around in this wonderful world of success. Like, it has to be behind tough doors, which is why it's not what most people achieve. I love that saying, like, if you want what most people don't have, you've got to do what most people won't do, like, or something like that. You've got to be prepared to dig in. Yeah. And I think, yeah, when you really genuinely get a kick out of helping these people, it is that passion that drives what we do. So talk to me a little bit about the money side of this, because I know this is something that you really help people with, the mindset around that. Because ultimately, when and I know lots of people who listen to this podcast are in this sort of coaching and mentoring space, so they'll relate to us as well as the client's aspect in this. When you help people in any space in coaching, the results can come in different forms. So it could be an up level in performance, it could be an up level in well-being, it could be an up level in revenue, but a return on investment, and it can come in many guises. But if people make more money because of that transformation, then they're happy. What often blocks people, and where do you find people get
Great question.
stuck in terms of that
Definitely their
money
belief
piece at
system.
different
So
levels?
we all have a belief system that was set when we were less than 7 years old, when you were going about your life as like a little girl, little boy, little child, and you had no idea what was going on around you. But you'd hear things. You'd hear things your parents said. You might hear people say things. You might hear something on the radio. You know, your parents might have thought about money. You might have heard money doesn't grow on trees. That was a big one when I was growing up. And subconsciously, your mind would then form beliefs about money.
Mhm.
So let's say you're 5
Yeah.
years old and you wanted a certain toy from the Toys R Us catalogue. Now there's a who. And you're like, yes, I really do. And your parents said, no, we can't afford that.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, as a 5-year-old, you might then believe that you can't have what you desire. You might then have the belief that, oh, well, there's no point setting goals. There's no point striving for more. This is my stuff. This is my set. This is what I'm going to get. This is just how it is. Let's say you heard someone say rich people are evil. You know, that rich family down the end of the street, they've got 2 cars, they've got a massive house, they've got a swimming pool. We don't like those people. And subconsciously you heard that and it was like, oh, money's really bad. Rich people are bad. I don't want to be
Mm.
rich because I don't want to be a bad person. I don't want to be an evil
Mhm.
person. And you think nothing of that until you come into business and it's 20, 30, 40, 50 years later. And okay, I want to make more money. But in the back of your subconscious mind, your subconscious mind has held this belief for so long that actually money is bad, money is the root of all evil. So you will subconsciously block it. And you can post as much as you like, you can launch what you want, you can put your prices up, but none of it's going to get you the result that you desire. So we've got to look at where your belief system currently is and then actually be able to clean up those things, rewire your mindset so that you can have the mindset for what you desire. I think so many people don't even question those things. Now, when I do this exercise with my clients, it's not about blaming. It's not saying, oh, well, my parents said X, Y, and Z, so now I'm going to blame them because I can never be financially successful. It's like, okay, well, let's just recognize the belief you have held on to since you were a child isn't actually yours. It's not about blaming, it's about awareness. So if you can then have that awareness and you're like, okay, I recognize I picked up this belief when I was younger that money doesn't grow on
Yeah.
trees. And that made me think, you know, that wealth and abundance isn't for me. Well, I recognize that. And then you get to choose a different belief. You get to choose a different thought through various sort of mindset things that you can do.
Mm. You mentioned there the subconscious. I do a lot of work in the subconscious space, and I really, to add to that, love the fact that you may not be able to pinpoint those things in childhood either. So for some, it's obvious. You're like, oh God, yeah, I used to hear that message all the time, and it's really obvious. And you're like, yeah, no wonder I think that, yeah, that was a narrative in our household. But you might not, and you might be like, well, I don't recall that, or actually, I grew up in quite an abundant home, and so I'm not sure where that would be coming from. So maybe that's not it. And it's like, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there in the subconscious. So it's so funny how when we work with the subconscious, we find out like, well, actually, up here in my brain, in my head, I think this and I believe this, but it's completely conflicted with what's going on in your subconscious, which is why I think you get sometimes these roller coaster entrepreneurs where it's like, yes, they go and make a load of money, and then all of a sudden it's like, now they're really struggling, and it's up and down, up and down. So on paper, they're carrying the success umbrella, but actually the bank account is dwindling or struggling, and it's because maybe they're not holding on to it, or maybe the subconscious is at play, and that's why it's not a sustainable thing, because
Yeah.
it's the
I had a
subconscious
conversation with a
conscious
client a couple of years ago,
conflict
and I will
that's
never
going
ever
on.
forget it. She'd been in business a number of years. She got to like the 5-6K month mark consistently, and she was like, right, I want to get to 10K months. That pivotal thing, I want to get to 10K months. And the first session that I did with her was actually a real deep subconscious session. Because I'm like, I always want to pick up what is coming up for people around this. Is it that they've seen somebody else do it and they're just like, yeah, that sounds great? Or is it like a real like desire and drive?
Yeah.
And we did this subconscious session, and it came up in that session that when she was younger, she inherited £10,000 from her granny when her granny passed away. And her mum took the money and spent it on alcohol. Now, she did not consciously remember this. This came up in her subconscious. Oh, I just got goosebumps. This came up in her subconscious mind. And she was like, oh my God. And I was like, how amazing is it that we have had this realization so we can then clear it? We can then do some timeline therapy and just remove that negative emotion associated with that memory. So we can clear that. because otherwise she could have kept pushing, hustling for that 10K month, and either not get there because her subconscious mind is going to protect her because it thinks 10K is a bad number, bad things happen, traumatic things happen around 10K, or she'd get it and blow it, or get it and sabotage it, or get it and it would be like out of integrity clients, and she'd burn out and like have to hustle too much. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's so empowering. But she consciously did not remember that. It was purely through the subconscious work that we did that memory came up that needed clearing, that needed healing for her to then do it. And then we did a number of other sort of subconscious sessions and a lot of both conscious and subconscious mindset work. And then she hit it 3 months after she started working one-to-one. And it was just it was one of the greatest things I think I've helped somebody achieve. I've helped people achieve such massive things, but that meant so much for her. And honestly, I felt so much joy, and I celebrated that win as if it was one of my own. It felt greater than some of my own. So I'm like, she's done it. And like, we busted through something that really could have held her back. And now she's flying, like absolutely flying. So that was I will never forget that conversation in that moment.
Yeah. And this is, again, the power of finding the right person that can help unlock you, and help you, like you said, again, you have to do the work, but that can help you to do that work for you. There's so many pieces to this, because when we are self-motivated, self-starters, driven, ambitious, we do often think we can do it all. So it can be really difficult to go, need some help, especially if you have had a lot of success, because you think, well, I've got this, I don't need help. And I think it's so important to remember that we don't know what we don't know. And that's what another person helps you to find and uncover and unlock, the blockers that you can't see. And I think that when you can admit that and go, yeah, do you know what, I'm well self-developed. I consume all the right things. I'm learning all the time. I'm a self-starter. But just something is blocking me, and you can't put your finger on it. That's where you've got to find the right support to help you to unlock that and uncover that. That's where true brilliance is lies. Beyond that, it's in you. It's in you already. It's just you've got to get those layers off.
I first invested in a coach in April 2017 when I had that first rock bottom.
Absolutely.
And it was £97 I didn't have. Since then, I have had a couple of really short periods of time when I haven't had a coach or mentor, and I really recognize it. So even now I'm working with one, because when things come up, I want to kind of say to her, what are your thought processes around this? Can you share how you would react to this? Can you please share how you would navigate this? Can you please review how this messaging can be better? I'm constantly investing in things, because I'm like, I know that my work is never done. And I love continually refining things and constantly learning from the best. I'm always learning from people that are way ahead of me in some area, whether it's mindset or money. And I think that that's a really good approach to have. I remember seeing something years ago, and I can't reference who said this, but they said that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And I always think about yes, because that there's always more. There's always more you can do, more you can make. You can always have an identity shift. You can always step into being more of a leader. And I think that's really exciting. I love that for the coaching industry.
Yeah. I always see smart people ask for help. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's the next level for you. And I think you talked about the investing money you didn't have, but you knew that you needed to. So you found a way to get that much, and you virtually had no change from it. But instead of okay, good, now I've got more to pay the bills with, you're like, no, I need to use everything I've got to do this, because then that's going to give me that shift. And it's a constant climb. I've worked with coaches and then stopped and then gone back to them, and then gone and worked with someone else. And it depends on what it is you're looking for at that time. I also think it's great to have a good network and good friends in business, and having good friends in business, your business besties, they've got your back. And I think then you've got a two-way exchange. So that's when, if you've got a nice level playing field there, it's well, that's great, because we both put in to the pot and we both get out from that, and that's lovely. But it's not the same. And I think when you work with somebody who they hold you, and it's about you, and you don't have to put into that pot, they're 100% there to hold you. And definitely working with people who are even a few steps ahead of you in certain areas is valuable and essential in parts. And sometimes I don't think it matters whether they're ahead of you or not. It's if they've
Yeah.
got an essence of something. So I talk about this with like not necessarily any hierarchy, in that, you know, somebody could be earning millions and multi millions and work with somebody who's at multi six figures, but the person at multi six figures, it's not about the revenue, is it? It's that person's got something that can benefit that person who's earning that
Yeah.
much. It's, I don't see it as a hierarchy. I think it's about an energy that you bring, and if it's the right
I'm
energy,
nodding like a
who
mad thing
cares what
over here.
level
I agree with
anyone's
this
at?
so much.
You know?
Like, I've coached so many people that earn so much more than me, like people that do over $1 million in
Yeah.
a year, and I'm like, I haven't done it yet, but I know that I can bring to the table that really enables them to
Yeah.
rise from a mindset perspective. So I love
Mhm.
that, and I think that's so important. I also really, really am so mindful in terms of the conversations I have
Yeah.
with anybody. So with business besties, with people in business, with friends, because I'm so mindful of what's going into my mind, because I know that that's going to have an impact over what my kind of thoughts are doing. I created a podcast episode about this a couple of weeks ago that I think is so aligned to this conversation, and it was about growth osmosis.
Yeah.
You know, you may have heard the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend your time with, but it's like, well, what does that actually mean? So I had absolute rock bottom moment in June 2025 and realized at that time that I hadn't been working with a coach, like I wasn't doing the mindset work that has changed my life. And I invested £111 at the beginning of July to go into a 50-day program with a coach that's a 7-figure business owner. And I literally went into that space with this kind of identity of, I want to be one of those best case studies. But what that did was it normalized people that were doing like £50,000 cash days. And I'm like, right, I want to normalize that. Those are the conversations I want to be having. And I went into there so vulnerable. I was like, my business has crashed massively. I'm literally like, feel like I'm building back up again. But I thought, right, I want to normalize those conversations. And I went into it with such a good mindset of, I want to be one of the best case studies. I kept showing up in that. And just normalizing talking about growth and success and high level problems and £500,000 tax bills, like just normalized it, that it takes away this massive disconnect between I'm here, they're over there. So I was like, I wanted to normalize high level conversations. And I think that's the beauty of being in coaching programs, working with coaches, being in memberships, and being risen. Another quote I love is, a rising tide lifts all ships. And I'm like, that's how I see business when we like come together.
Yeah. Definitely getting into those rooms, into those conversations, environment, you know, environment is everything. I always think of that, you know, picturing the iceberg analogy, you know, and underwater is all the grit and determination, you know, not the stuff you see above, but also underwater where those roots are is the environment. And that environment has got to be conditional to thriving, and that includes who you spend your time with. Okay, I spend a lot of my time with teenagers. That doesn't make me a teenager. I have 2 teenagers. That's no part of my life. But you know, in the business world, stepping into those rooms and those arenas, but like you belong. Like, you know, I'm not suggesting faking it, but I love your raw authenticity with, you know, yeah, I hit this place and my business crashed. Like, you don't have to, just because, you know, it can be like up here and you can have something can happen, and businesses do crash. That can happen. That's real. And I think it's so good to talk about that and not just pretend all the time. I bet there are people out there that, you know, have openly shared such huge success that when it's got tough, they've almost felt like, I can't share that. What will people think? And it's like, no, flipping share it, because then the people that you're actually trying to inspire will go, oh, wow, okay, it's tough for them too sometimes. And they'll, I think that that actually brings you closer and draws you in more, because you think,
I
well,
had a horrendous
I
end
can
of
learn from that
2024, and the
person. The
first 6 months of
highs and the
2025
lows, like,
literally
yeah,
nearly
so
killed me.
important.
And everything that could go wrong went wrong. You know, my business used to do like £25,000 cash months, and suddenly June 2025 was £2,000. My mindset was fucked. My horse died. I left my marriage. I left my home. I ended up with a narcissist. Like, literally everything that could possibly go wrong was going wrong. My mindset was at absolute rock
Oh,
bottom, and I just felt like such a fraud. I've got a #1 best-selling book
wow.
mindset, and mine was so low. And I then committed to my mindset work again, my morning routine, my health habits, started getting myself in these little low ticket coaching programs, just getting myself out there, building my network, started posting on social media again every single day, just posting whatever I wanted. There was no strategy other than get visible. That was it. Just show up. And then July was 5 times
Yep.
income. August was 7, September
Just
was
show up.
8. And then I
Yeah.
recorded like a very vulnerable podcast episode about that. I was like, I was literally depressed and put on antidepressants in June, and I've bounced back like this. And I shared that it only went live on Monday this week, but so many people have reached out saying, I too have been
Yeah.
there. I've been depressed. I was put on antidepressants. I've hit rock bottom. And so, like, I've lost count of the amount of people that said, I feel closer to you than ever. Thank you for sharing. And all I wanted to do was like give a bit of context. And I thought, if it helps one person who's going
Yeah.
through fucking hell,
Yeah.
like, I want them to know it gets to be good again. And that's terrifying to share that
Yeah.
story and be so vulnerable. But the feedback has been so
Yeah.
good. And it's just really, I think, strengthened the connection because it was so genuine, heartfelt.
And exactly that. It's genuine, it's real, it's the truth. And I think that builds trust, because then people think that you're not this unattainable, you know, carrying this glossy image that people are like, oh, well, I want to be like you. That they're actually feeling like, oh, actually, no, I am like you, and I can do what you've done and have those outcomes, like virtually 10x in you know, a matter of a few months, because you chose to, though. And I think that that's key. You chose to go, no, this is not okay. I'm going to start doing the things that I know to do to shift this, rather than wallow in it. You know, you didn't sit there blaming anyone else. You didn't sit there going, you know, it's so unfair. These things are all happening to me. You took them and went, well, okay, in spite of these things, I know what's possible for me, and I'm going to do little steps. You didn't go, what can I do that's crazy and wild and massive? You just went, okay, just this, even if it was your last penny, something to get into those rooms, the guidance, the accountability, the support, but just little steps. And I think that at the lower end, there are too many people in business that won't even put a penny in. They just want to build a business. I say this to my franchise business. It's like, to build a business for free is unrealistic. Like, you don't build a business for free. You know, even if it's your time investment, like, you're still, even if you're doing everything, so that's your paycheck. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't build businesses for nothing. And you know, being a franchisor, I think that this has to be shouted about even more, because when people buy a franchise, I think sometimes they shouldn't, but I think people think, well, I've just bought it. I bought this. It should just all be wrapped up in here. It's like, absolutely not. You're still going to be a business owner, and that comes with, you know, time investment and monetary investment in various guises. You can't build a business for free. So it's knowing what little things can you do and leverage. Is it technology? Is it a coach, a mentor? Is it your well-being? But it's those little
I
shifts.
also
Doesn't
recorded
have to
another
be
podcast
huge.
episode called The
Little
Power
shifts,
of a
but not sit
Decision.
there going,
And literally in
oh, it's
June,
so
I made
unfair.
a decision that I was going to make this the best fucking comeback of my life. And I'm like, and I want a #1 best-selling book out of this. Like, this shit show is happening. And I'm going to decide to rise.
Yes.
And honestly, July was still really hard. There were still moments
Good
that
for
I
you.
cried unbearably at what happened and at how much I changed, and I let somebody strip every single ounce of my like sparkliness away. There were still moments that I was really sad and I really struggled, and that I was dealing with solicitors and lawyers for the divorce. And I was like, there's still so much shit going on. But I was like, okay, no, I'm just going to keep going. I've got this. It's not easy right now, but I know at some point I'm going to look back and I'm going to tell this story with a microphone on a stage in front of thousands of people, and it's going to change some lives. And that was the mindset I went into it with. We can't change sometimes the things that happen to us, or, you know, what people do, or how people treat us, or things that happen. All we can do is learn from it. And I've now been able to do a lot of timeline therapy and forgiveness exercises around this. But I'm like, okay, well, I've learned from those situations. I've learned so much from the pain, from the heartbreak, from hating life and business. I'm like, I've got such incredible learnings from that. And then it makes the good times feel even better. I remember one of my coaches a number of years ago, who I signed up to work with one-to-one after a bout of double grief. So I lost my grampy, who was 92, and then my best friend the next day. Like, literally in about 26 hours, they were both gone, and it just floored me. And I remember her saying something to me, and I think about this all the time. She was like, the best coaches are those that have been through it, because they get it. Like, you will be better able to lead people because you know how it feels. You know what it's like to cry yourself to sleep. You know what it's like to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning stressed, anxious, worried. She was like, and you can then help your people through that. So how beautiful that you can rise through this and then actually be able to do, like, use it for good. There's a entrepreneur I follow on social media called Jen Gottlieb. She's based in Florida. And she always says, your mess is your message. And I love that. And it's like, it's picking out the little bits from the mess. Generally when you're back out the other side, not when you're like literally in the mess, but actually being able to pick out the little things that can actually give people hope or inspire people or motivate people or make them feel like, if she can do it, I can do it too. So I always love that little quote as well.
Definitely. It's the journey, isn't it? And I think that if you can, even when you are going through it, I think sometimes taking a deep breath and going, this is part of my story. And I think that I go, this is the story. And you just said, I'm going to tell this on stage one day to this many people. And it's like picturing it like that, if it's stage or if it's in a book or even if it's just to future generations, just, going, I'm going to look back and go, because of that is why I achieved this that's not yet written. And embracing that part of the journey, it can really turn it from really, really tough to okay. It's like trusting in that journey and going, this is part of my story. This is part of my story. And you can, they always say you can only connect the dots looking back, and you do. And then you do look back and go, that makes sense now. Okay, that makes sense now. And without that, this amazing thing wouldn't have actually
in the podcast
come to
episode
be.
that
So
I kind of shared about the past 12 months,
trust that it's
kind of shared on there, come back and how
story,
July have been amazing, August have been amazing. And I actually did some sums. I love looking at data. I love looking at sums. And I worked out in my business, I had done 35 months where I'd earned over £10,000. So sometimes it had been 10K, sometimes it had been 25. 35 months. And honestly, that August 2025 was the best of them all, because it was just like the greatest comeback of ever, like of all time. I was like, oh my God, I've done it. Like 2 months ago, I didn't want to be here anymore. And now I've just done this. Like that was the greatest one. And I actually created a folder in my phone back in June when I decided to make this a comeback, and I called it my comeback. And I put pictures and videos of me crying, of my Stripe account that was barren, of, nothing working. My reach was down. I wasn't posting on social media. And I started documenting it. And that album on my phone is one of my most sacred things, because I'm like, I keep looking back at it and I'm like, I almost don't remember myself. I don't recognize who I was back then. It's almost like I was watching an awful horror movie, but it really is part of my story now. And it is going to be part of the business and the journey. And I really love that. And I think actually there would be so many people that have been through so many things that almost just brush them under the carpet and onto the next. And like every single one of those things is part of your message.
For somebody who's perhaps in that place now, because if this is resonating with a listener that's like, oh, this makes sense. I've definitely had those real highs, and then maybe they're in a low at the moment, and they're like, let's face it, there've definitely been some changes economically, online, and it's certainly been turbulent for a lot of businesses. What would be your sort of one message, if you could leave listeners with like one golden nugget from from your experience yourself and with your clients, that you would say right now, if someone's in a dip, that's a simple thing they can do or think about?
Can I please have two?
Just begin to rise from that dip. What would you say?
First thing is start your day with a
you can have two. Go on, let's give this a bonus. Here you go, guys.
5 things you're grateful for. Because if every single morning you can get up in that first waking hour, you can find 5 things to be grateful for, even if it's the fact you woke up, even if it's the fact that you've got a dog, a cat, a partner, children, even if it's the fact that you have a roof over your head, even if it's the fact that, I don't know, you have a bit of fuel in your car, anything. If you can see the sunrise, if you can see just anything, find 5 things to be grateful for each day, because over time that trains your subconscious mind to start to look for more good things. I started doing this in July and it was really hard initially. over time, that trains your subconscious mind to actually start looking for more good. This was something that was absolutely massive for me back in July, but it was actually really hard at the time to do that. I didn't feel like I had a huge amount of things to be grateful for. So I started really small by saying my comfortable bed that I've just slept in, the roof over my head, my coffee, being able to get outside. And I was actually grateful for my body because I was able to get outside and go for a walk. So I started really, really, really small, but it trains your brain to start looking for more good. The other thing is start flooding your mind with good things. Podcasts, just like this one. Just start getting really good stuff going into your mind every single day so that you can almost start to normalize the thoughts that are going on in your brain are more aligned to what you desire. And it's just going to just keep flooding the mind with goodness so that you can just start to feel better in yourself. So 5 gratitude. Flood your mind with
And I
goodness.
think podcasts are great for that. Podcasts, they're real conversations, audiobooks as well. Like there's no reason, you don't have to then necessarily have to find additional time either. Like it can be just while you're driving or while you're cooking or just plugging yourself into something. I think that's a really great suggestion. And it's going to give you some inspiration, isn't it? It's going to create sparks that reignite when perhaps things feel quite flat. 2 amazing nuggets of wisdom there. Thank you, Tara, so much. And thank you for joining me and having this conversation today. I love nothing more than sitting down. I love that this is something I get to do in my work and having great conversations with fellow entrepreneurs, ultimately for fellow entrepreneurs as well. So really appreciate you coming on the podcast and having this chat today.
Thank you so much. I have loved it. I feel we could have spoken all day.
Definitely. There's so much more to talk about. Yeah. But we will leave your links to your socials and everywhere people can find you in the show notes so people can reach out to you if they have any other questions. Is Instagram your main place?
Yes. Yeah. It's where I hang out the most. I love it. But yeah, always open to any questions, comments, reflections from this episode. And I just hope that it helps at least one person.
Oh, I'm sure it will help way more, but thank you so, so much.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and remember, go out there and shine your light bright because you were born to be brilliant.